Hello, I'm Rin, and I really love Project Sekai. Project Sekai was like my fever dream of a video game based off Hatsune Miku when I was like in elementary school. I wished for so long about some story-based game about that idol that everyone loves. I think the most close thing of media about that concept back in the day was all those pre-rendered cinematic movies that were on those first Project Diva games. Like all the Kryptoniloids talking and interacting with each other and just embracing the fact that everyone seems to be exactly like you remember them to be, even though it wasn't a trait of personality inherited to them. For me, Project Sekai brings that feeling of wanting to know even more about those characters and their interactions with all those kids that have their own struggles and how they overcome them with the connections that they made, as well as music and the concept of sharing your sound with others. That alone makes the whole plot point of the story that Project Sekai has to offer. If you are in this video, I'm going to assume that you played the game or watched someone else's playthrough and you already know what all this is about. For a recap, all units can enter a Sekai through their phones just by playing an untitled song that suddenly pops up one day. Then they end up in a world made by their feelings and also various iterations of how they perceive Miku and the others. Like for example, Leonid sees the virtual singers as classmates, that they fully support each other and they serve more like a role models for them. As for Nightcore, they see their virtual singers as individuals and confidants that may or may not be capable of helping their unit due to a sharp sense of independence. Let's just pin this concept for a moment, cause this is where everything goes to unexplored territory with the question of this video. Sekai is explained to us that it's formed by the group feelings and emotions. That alone is supposed to make the visual style of every different Sekai that we all know. But, like Mizuki said at one point, have you ever wondered what are exactly these Sekai worlds?
ミクは思いの世界って言うけどさ、奏もエナも真冬もここが何なのか全然気にならないの？
そうだね。居心地がいいからどうでもよくなってるのかもね。
何かすごい謎が隠されてるかもしれないのに？
すごい謎って？
徳川の埋蔵金？
テレビの見過ぎだよ、水木。
What does it mean to manifest to a certain group? Can they change? What are the fragment Sekai? What are the between worlds thing that we enter whenever some special event is about to happen? And even that, why us and the leader are the only ones that can directly talk with original Miku? In this video, I'll attempt to do my best to explain the logic and maybe expose some theories that I've been thinking about narrative and the world building that has this amazing game. For purpose of this video, I will discuss some major fast events that involves the Sekai, as well as some interactions from the characters and side stories in cards that to this day aren't able to obtain in the global version of Sekai. So this is your spoiler warning for those who want to avoid that kind of stuff. So let's dive in. What we already know. So, the Sekais that we all know come from the emotions and feelings of each unit in unison that represents the bonding that they all have, as well as certain vibe that everyone's okay with. That's represented with the physical look of each Sekai. I'm recording this while doing the edition of this video and searching for some images to use as the explanation of how these kids get into the Sekai like graphically. I found this post in Amino, like some random post there that is from 2019. It has this footage of the game in its early phase. Like we can see so much artwork and some of the presentations that explains how this game is supposed to look like in the future development, which it's not, but it's interesting how they put all the Sekai spheres and how we were supposed to enter these Sekais through actually playing the untitled songs as in a gimmicky interface or something like that. I think it's amazing and I think it was worth to show it to you guys. Okay, back to the video. The Sekais that we know and can visit are the School Sekai, Stage Sekai, Street Sekai, Wonderland Sekai, Empty Sekai, and oddly enough, according to the Wiki, just the Wonderland and Empty Sekai are born from one person's feeling that are Tsukasa's and Mafuyu, respectively. But I kinda disagree with that. Despite those units are working together to achieve one common goal, like in Wonderland Showtime, it's making a musing place as their heart's content. And in Nightcore case is understanding and release Mafuyu's feelings. Both cases consist in a journey of discovering for each member that relates very much with their goals. And now we can start wondering, what are that certain feeling? Because in the case of Vivid Bad Squad is surpassing Rad Weekend. But that's an event or an action rather than a feeling. We can assume that it's about inner exploration or it's about breaking our boundaries. Well, those aren't wrong either. But if we go back to the very start of the game, we all can remember how was our first time when Miku was talking to us. And I'm not referring as an avatar or like any character in that sense, but rather to us, the player. And then we proceeded to take a small quiz. Although we can all agree that this is like a personality test to see what unit we resemble the most, in any moment we are told directly that this is a personality test. It's like the process of the realization of an idea. These questions are introspective about ourselves and how we are perceived. This section is not presented as a quiz, but rather like a warn of a new Sekai, said by Miku right before taking the quiz. She also says a lot of interesting stuff, like how we end up in Between Worlds. That is this wide and illuminated space, almost like ethereal. She explained to us that there are where Sekais are born. Think about it as containers. Between Worlds is a big container that holds other bunch of containers. But then she said that we end up there because we are like her, that we like to protect the Sekais and everyone in there. She came with this conclusion because we sang, or rather played, a song with Miku just a few moments ago. It's like she just implied to us that our performance surprises her and therefore she sees us as potential candidates to protect. More like a guardian for the Sekais. We can also say that we are guardians of feelings because the Sekais are born from feelings. But why does she needs guardians for those Sekais? How we can do something for those Sekais if we aren't actually in there with Miku? Well, in that same conversation, she says that her job is overseeing the Sekais to give birth to songs, just like how in our world, inspiration makes the composers to work on a song and later on would be sung by Miku or other virtual singer.
抱負は一曲でも多く誰かを幸せにできる曲を作ること。このサークルを作ったのもそのため。
And I think she's more than aware of that, because she also mentions that she knows all about the world we came. That means that we are also a container that are above between worlds. But because we are that far apart, we are just assigned the task to be the guardian for those Sekais and watch over to each unit's feelings, like a witness to it. Okay, so bear with me for this. For Miku and the other virtual singers, need the Sekais to be born so they can give birth to songs so the virtual singers can, well, sing them. It seems that this is like a vital factor for them. The songs are so important that they need to gather guardians to watch over the sources that can make those songs. It's like they need them to just exist. But again, what are the Sekais need to be protected from? What is supposed to be this imminent danger? Before we start to talk about this danger, I want to address some other things that I think are important to discuss in order to analyze even better the concept of sekais. And I'm thinking about the other thing that the feelings inside sekai can manifest. And I'm talking about the fragments. The fragment sekais are manifestation of certain feelings on an individual person as a place that resemble the heart and mind of the sekai owner. Think it about this way. A normal sekai are stable because it's a manifestation of the feelings of a unit. Many people cooperate to make it stay like that, while in the fragment sekai are one person's feelings that are more weaker and fragile. Only the owner and the virtual singers can enter those places. The virtual singers are aware of this phenomenon, usually calling these places as a fragment of feelings. You see, for me the most important thing about the lore of the sekais are these fragment of feelings or fragment sekai because it keeps confirming the fact that the feelings in general are some sort of really powerful energy that can manifest gateways to these pocket worlds. Well, at the end of the day, they are all connected because Miku and the others want to help the protagonist to understand their respective feelings. So, what are the bases of those fragment sekais? As I mentioned before, each fragment sekai resembles the heart and feelings of their owner. We need to be conscious that a feeling is something very abstract. Even though we can put labels on certain ones as love, hate, happiness, a feeling in general is hard to be described. So we, as humans, tend to associate feelings with memories and experiences. That's why we all can know how to represent certain feelings such as love. It's often in the way of a heart. That being said, we can see that each sekai that our protagonist visits are fabricated with stuff that they can recognize that are not something strange to them, but rather familiar. That's why also they can see and even talk to fabricated beings within those sekais. Like in Airi's one, for example. She sees herself as a child. But even if Airi was freaked out at first, young Airi seems to be chill about it. Even though she seems to be aware that she is a fabricated being, from what we can see when Airi leaves her fragment.
何今の。あ、もうお別れみたい。お姉ちゃん、私頑張るね。だからお姉ちゃんも約束守ってくれなきゃダメだからね。必ず守ってみせるわ。
In her fragment, we can see it resembles to a museum and a makeup boutique. There are costumes and TVs that reaffirms that sense of memory and how she, in her arc, is conscious about her image in her past as entertainer and her actual self. It's like taking a little peek in her dream by how ephemeral it seems to be. Another very curious case is the Haruka's stumbling on a fragment sekai. And I purposely don't mean her fragment sekai, because I believe this was an intertwined fragment sekai. I know this sounds weird, but please bear with me. I'm calling those an intertwined fragment sekai whenever multiple users can coexist for a few moments on a sekai where the only purpose of it is embracing and understanding a feeling. I'm going to explain it with the Haruka's case, because everyone, including myself, when I saw that card, I thought it was all beautiful and warm, like a reminiscence of a summer vacation. But that's not the trait that the game itself ties Haruka with. She is unapologetically obsessed with penguins. There are various instances hinting about this, and even the Komas made fun of it. So why her fragment isn't like all winter themed, like icy, with a lot of penguins surrounding her? Some people might say that your feelings might not be directly tied with your likes and fixations. But even in Mafuyu's fragment sekai, she has a big library with fairy tales and all her studies because that's one of her true likes hinted by the Miracle of Light event. So even with a person with no feelings, her likes can make through that manifestation of her fragment sekai. So that means in the case of Haruka, it isn't her fragment sekai. It is something else. In that side story, she wanted to show to the Murmur Jump group one city of the idol that inspired her back when she was a freshman, just like Minori. When seeing through a couple of photos wishing about meeting them back in the day, because in the present it seems to be hard to find information about them. If you ask me, I found this quite strange, but bear with me. Then Haruka enters to the fragment Sekai, and she realizes that she is in the town of one of the peaks on the city. Then Haruka starts to chase some very familiar shadow that doesn't allow Haruka to see them. Then she stumbled to a very dark room where a pigeon with a clover in its beak led her, where inside of it, various other pigeons were trapped and wanted to be freed by Haruka. When peeking to that room through a window, she doesn't realize it at first, but that dark room was actually Minori's room. When the pigeons are freed, she recognizes a voice that were calling for her, assuming that was that shadow from before was actually Murmur Jump Miku. And when Haruka realized that, the fragment Sekai ceased to exist and returns back to the stage Sekai. So, what does all that mean? For instance, Miku told Haruka that the fragment Sekai appeared due to a strong feeling to that person, making a reference to a feeling of inspiration and motivation to spread hope. And we know that when it comes to spreading hope and being her whole arc is Minori. She also feels the same way as Haruka feels towards her idol inspiration person. It's like a chain of one big feeling that intertwines these three people, so it can manifest this certain fragment. That explains why Minori's room appeared there, and the liberation of the pigeons from the dark room symbolizes that Haruka is delivering the same inspiration as her mysterious idol. So that means that as long as several people shares the same feeling at the same moment, even if that's ephemeral, they can coexist in the same fragment Sekai. And here is the best part of this speculation. Let's take a detour here because I'm going to connect something really important. Have you noticed that there's several sets of cards that shares like one theme due to a special event that mixes units? Notice that the background art resembles to a certain space or like the same world, and that's because it is. All that mixed cards with mixed unit members are coexisting in an intertwined fragment Sekai as an ephemeral dream. Maybe they don't remember it, but we, as witness of this whole thing, are aware of those events. And you might wonder, but that isn't being shown that explicit in the game. What are you talking about? Did I mention before how all these characters all enter to these fragment Sekais? All enter in the exact same way. They see a sparking ball of light on the ground, and when they touch it, they are transported to that specific fragment. On the story, they never show us how that light ball looks like, but what we see whenever we roll to the gacha banners, that's right. Those bright things are fragments. All of them. And Miku is inviting us to take a look at them. And with that, I think I'm gonna leave it there. You know, this is my first time doing a theory speculation video, or a video at all, so I'm new on these kind of things. I needed to try it with this small theory that I've been thinking while playing the game because I truly like it. And I hope you guys like this video too. If you want to hear more of this wacky theory and if you think I should continue it in part 2, let me know in the comments and leave a like and subscribe to this new channel of mine. I promise to tie everything left here on the next video if you truly want more of my content. Also, I'm thinking to talk about the general lore of this game as well as discussing some other themes that I've been thinking on making a video about. But again, if you are here at this point of the video, thank you so much for watching and see you around.